Okay, we'll call this work session to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we're going to change the order of the work session a little because I asked Brian and the chiefs to come. We're going to talk about town right of ways. And I think this is an issue that we kind of talk about every once in a while, but it seems like this year with most, well, actually the last couple of years with COVID, the increase in the population and just more people, using our roads, that there's been a lot of complaints about, the shoulders of the roads and, that people don't feel safe riding their bikes or walking against traffic. So we had asked, we had said we're going to look at this. We're going to ask the chief and the town attorney and Brian to come up with a plan. Stephen, you want to introduce us to this a little bit? You're on mute.
Before he starts, I don't see anyone, Dottie or anyone else from the town. Oh, there's Amber connecting.
I thought I did.
Yeah, Amber's logging in.
Yeah, so right now, state law controls as far as rights of way. We don't have a town code provision on point. So you have highway law section 319 that discusses obstructions, and you have town highway law section 140 that talks about briars, brush, and noxious weeds. So the highway superintendent has the inherent authority through state law to remove obstructions. However, that definition is very narrow and exhaustive. So it doesn't include things like hedges and things like that. So that's not applicable. The general powers of the highway superintendent to clear the right of way of any briars, brush, and noxious weeds is available, but again, definitionally, a hedge and other certain vegetation would not be deemed briars, brush, and noxious weeds. Therefore, ultimately, to address the situation, we'd have to develop our own local law to address the concerns that Brian's going to lay out.
Okay, Brian?
So, Stephen had, a good point there. I do have the authority to do a little bit of stuff, say if tree limbs or something is laying in the road, in the travel lane, I have the right to take that out. But stuff as far as, noxious weeds and other vegetation on the side of the road where it impedes pedestrian traffic, if they want to get off the road, I cannot do anything about because there are no local laws. Like other towns have local laws to do that. We do not. And I've had a lot of complaints this year of different properties where people are walking the road and two cars are coming in either direction and they can't get off the road safely, and cars are almost having an accident. I have multiple complaints about that. So I think we just need to look and take care of this so people feel safe, that they can get off the side of the road when they need to.
Somebody's got to mute themselves, okay?
So, but again, I only have so many powers like to do something like that. You would think that it would be more being at the safety issue, but those powers of my duties are limited. So we just need to take care of that.
Okay, so it's something we have to, investigate, not only, identify the locations, but, write something for the code that we can enforce it.
Yes, and it's not specifically for specific locations. I think that's for everywhere.
Yeah. Mhm. No, I mean, but that's part of, I mean, if there's repeated complaints, I mean, we'll probably, we should, once we have something in place, we should prioritize, how we address. I don't think, I don't know if you start with the worst and go down, or you just get everybody at once, or what you do.
Yeah.
So what's the next step, Stephen, in this process? More so on your side with the code? You're on mute again.
Okay, yeah, so what I'll do is I'll propose a local law, I'll draft it. And then we'll have another work session and we'll vet it. And bring Brian in, see if it satiates his concerns, and it'll address the issues, and we'll take it from there. But I think BJ and Meg have had this issue come up during the comprehensive plan meeting. Isn't that true? Meg, BJ?
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to unmute myself. We've had, yeah, it's been brought up as a concern, the dangers of walking on the road. And one of the things that we were doing was looking into all the statistics and the data. And, we did receive updated numbers from the police department on, how many cars come on and off the island every day. And, essentially just how has our traffic grown? And it has increased. The number of vehicles on the island on the off season and during the peak season has increased. So it's not like, maybe this has always been a problem, but it hasn't been such a problem because there was less encounters of vehicles versus people and bicyclists walking and riding. So just with the increase of traffic because of where we are and COVID and everything else, I think it's becoming more of an issue and more of a safety concern.
I think also, no way to prove this except just my own, observations that there are more and more hedges and privacy walls of trees, even on my own block. That's greatly, it's that description, what I've just described, either a hedge very close to the road or a privacy wall of evergreen trees. They've doubled since I've lived there 20 years. So it's sort of the combination of both. The changing demographic of Shelter Island, which puts a higher priority on privacy, and the increased amount of traffic means that although we, thank goodness, haven't seen any increase in injuries, maybe we can assume it's a matter of time.
Yeah, not as a play on words, but it is a growing problem. And the growing problem are these major barriers, these privet hedges and things of that nature, which just cuts down on visibility big time. We need to attack that twofold. Number one is to identify those areas that need to be remediated. And the other thing is an educational piece as a prevention. We need to do a better job when people are just planting these things. And I noticed along Peconic Avenue, a bunch of people have put privets in. They all put them back in around the 12 to 13, 14 foot from the side of the road. The only problem with privets is that once you plant them, you may plant them what you think is sufficiently off the side of the road, but as they grow in height and width, they then start to become more and more of a barrier to the roads. It's not as threatening on a straightaway as it is on a curve of a road or a hill in the road. But there is no doubt that the best way we can make our roads safe, this is a great starting point. And it's the number one issue that I too hear and I observe. This initiative will go a long way in helping to prepare better visibility for everybody. Remember, these roads are literally being shared by everyone. And there are lots of people out using them. So this is a great first step. I thank you.
Chief, do you want to add anything to the discussion?
No, Supervisor, I think I should wait for some other sub meetings on that. I just probably would like to see us be a little more proactive on significant safety concerns. And I thought the highway superintendent would have greater authority on plantings on our own shoulders and our own property when it's clearly marked and people plant on our properties that we couldn't remove said plantings, especially in the interest of safety. Intersections, right up to the shoulders, those things. So I hope that we can move forward in a timely fashion on this to address this.
Okay, good. Anybody else? Okay, all right, thanks, guys. Brian, while you're here, we'll go to the number 2 is what you, Amber and I had discussed, and we talked about it during the budget meetings, a fuel surcharge at the landfill. Obviously, fuel costs have gone up. We're way over budget this year. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but we just as we changed the fees to cover the cost of the labor, I think we need to do a surcharge on the fuel. There's 2 trains of thought that we just do a blank number, or Amber would like to do something the way we can automatically adjust it to what it costs, what it costs us, and do a percentage over that. What were your thoughts on that, Brian?
So right now our gas is even, our gas line, because we're getting money back from the different departments. Our diesel fuel, which most of our highway equipment run on, especially a loader, grinder, especially the grinder, we're $15,000 down over budget.
That's through October?
That's right through right now, yeah. And anticipating another load before the end of the year, which brings up another point. I don't know if you've heard, but they say that there's only a limited supply of diesel fuel in the country right now. So, I mean, right now I can't bring a full load in because I don't have the room, the capacity, until I get that down a little bit. But that's a concern all by its own. And the prices are starting to inch back up because of low supply and the demand. So, and we've been talking about a fuel surcharge for a little while because every place that we take our waste to has some sort of a fuel surcharge. Right now, where we take our construction debris in Crown and Riverhead has a $10 per load surcharge. Other towns have just raised their prices. Brookhaven for C&D went from $68 a ton to $200 a ton. So, and we are just coming into leaf season and grinding season. We have a whole brush pile that needs to be ground, double ground, and then leaves. November is leaf season, so we're going to be grinding leaves, and the grinder is running 200 gallons a day. So even though we haven't really started grinding yet, once we do, it's gonna look ugly because the more fuel we're going to burn. So if some sort of a surcharge to offset like everybody else is doing, I think, isn't a bad idea.
So Amber, we have the ability with the program at the scale to, punch something in per delivery. What were your thoughts on the tank price?
Well, what I was thinking is if we have, if we go off of a rack price, I know for like the fire district, we get bids in, and so it's a number of cents over the rack price. If we just did bands and said, okay, if the rack price is between this and this, it's going to be a 10% surcharge or a $10 surcharge. And if it's, between this band and this band, because prices have gone down, then we only do a 5% or $5, whatever Brian proposes. But I was just trying to think of something where as we deal with fluctuations up and down over the next number of months, Brian doesn't have to come back to us and change, do another rate change if we can do something that's already built in. And also, we're not keeping a certain surcharge on when the prices back off a little bit, and just trying to be fair to.
So Brian, first of all, does the program have that ability that we can?
I can adjust a fuel surcharge to any percentage you want.
And is it flat rate?
And it's all based on the material price. So I know we talked before about a surcharge on everything that goes out and everything that we grind. So it wouldn't be a surcharge for bags. It wouldn't be a surcharge for anything recyclable wise. It'd be for anything that we haul off the island, which takes fuel, anything that we grind, which takes fuel.
Mm-hmm. So Amber, would we take a base price for the rack price and then as the percentage goes up, add that percentage, or I'm not really sure how we would do it.
Yeah, that's.
Where do
what
we
I-
start?
Yeah,
That's
Brian,
that's my question. Where do we start?
yeah, my question, Brian, is can we do a flat fee or it's a percentage based upon
A percentage
percentage?
based upon what it
Alright,
is.
so that's easy. We're stuck with that. Yeah, then I guess what we could do is just sit down. I know you'd sent me some projections back in June and we just need to update those for what's been going on. I know you're thinking you had like 3 or 4 more deliveries before year end.
If we start grinding, we're definitely gonna need another delivery before the end of the year.
Mhm.
Brian?
I don't see us having 2 more.
Brian, with the diesel situation in the country, are you comfortable waiting till you need a full load or should you top off?
Well, so that's the other issue. I'm not sure, when you get a load, you try to get as much as you can at one
Right.
time. I'm not sure, being on where we are, that a company will come out with a half a load.
Mhm.
I mean, I can find out, but I don't think that they will like that.
Can you pre-order it and so we guarantee to get it?
I don't know. I can find that out too.
Mhm.
Because it's all based on when you order it, and the
Bill,
back
yeah.
price and the state bid price.
Mhm.
Let's
Just out
add
of
this-
curiosity, Gary, is there any ability to coordinate that with Picozzi? In terms of what his needs might be versus our needs, if he tops off half and we top off half, is there any of that
I
possibility?
think the thing is, the supplier probably was on a state bid. Brian, I'm not really sure how that works.
Yeah, it's all state bid, which is a rack price plus another percentage.
I guess my question to the rest of the town board is, which direction do you all feel is the correct direction? Should we just do set the percentage and the percentage is a percentage until we revisit it? Or do we do something to try and do a range?
We got to do something soon because the leaf season's starting.
Well, what I was gonna
I'm,
suggest is.
yeah, I'm in
yeah.
favor of doing a range because then it's reflective of what's happening in the market. So it's kind of more fair, then if the price drops, we're not still at this higher percentage that we may not need to be at. So, if we can manage a range effectively, I would be in favor of that.
So this year's range is anywhere from $2.13 to $3.80,
Right.
over $4.
Oh, it was over 4. Yes, it was.
It's crazy. I'm not sure where, how you're going to do that.
Well,
Especially now with
because-
prices going back up.
yeah. But the budget was done with last year, right, with a certain amount of, of estimate of price. And so now we've traveled from that estimate of price to whatever it is now so that range would be that, like this would be
I think that's where we have to start
right?
with last year's, what we were paying for gas, last year.
what we built into the
What we
budget.
budgeted for this year, right, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so Amber, we'll work on that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so Brian, after this meeting, I'll call you and we'll set up a time to meet, and then we'll have something before the town board meeting on Wednesday.
Yeah,
a proposal.
Perfect.
So maybe
Okay.
we can even queue up a resolution for adoption if we can agree on something by
That'd be
Wednesday
great.
at 3.
Okay. All right, thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll go to the number 1 on the list. We have 2 wetlands applications before us. We had the hearings. One is 27 Dickerson Drive and the other is 52 Tut Hill. We'll start with 27 Dickerson Drive. We have recommendations from the CAC and the planning board.
Yeah, I'm looking, give me a second, Joe.
Yep.
27 Dickerson?
27, yep.
Yeah, okay. There are 4 recommendations from the CAC. I have them there. This is based on Coco's notes from October 17th. Number 1, indicated proposed gravel pit around the perimeter of the house to provide details. No gutters. Property lies against Menantic Creek. Number 2, towards the bluff/water, it goes uphill from the house and near the driveway. And the Dickerson Drive Dickinson Drive dead, and it filters there, so it will put silt fencing there for drainage and only replace the front stoop. Request is on the site plan. Number 3, construct fencing around the oak trees to protect them from road transportation and construction equipment, which compacts the soil, which could damage those trees, which they agreed to do. Number 4, consider upgrading of an IA septic system at a minimum. Upgrade the existing waste pump as current septic system is to be up to code. So that was their 4 recommendations. They're a little disjointed. I'm sorry, but
That's okay. And the
Well,
planning board, Meg, go ahead.
I'm just going over these recommendations from the CAC. So the first one, indicated proposed gravel pit around the perimeter of the house and provide details. So they did come back to us with amended plans that showed that they were actually going to collect the water from those French drains and pipe them to dry wells. So that's kind of been taken care of already in the design. Okay, so that was just the one I had on that.
okay.
Okay. And the planning board didn't really have any, they just commended it for doing a good job. So the discussion we've been having, and we really haven't really come up with any solutions, is do we want to insist on IA systems when we approve any of these wetlands? I mean, it's the time to do it.
Well, I think it's, Jerry, if I may, I think it has to be germane to the project.
I agree.
Not, so some things in wetlands, where was it? It was over there in Hay Beach where they were doing some improvements, actually a lot of improvements to the landscape. In the modern, it was trying to think of the architect's name, but anyway. And we kind of agreed that, well, it would be nice if they did an IA system, but there's nothing that they're doing that would impact that or would, say, oh, that makes sense in this case. But in this case, I do think it makes sense to ask for an IA system. Their Creekside, it's a relatively new system, but it's really to their own benefit as well down the road, helping to protect the health of that creek.
So
And, they are adding a bathroom.
yeah, so how do you guys see this? Would this be something we task the town engineer or ask the planning board when they review the wetlands, or who's going to determine the intensity of the project to warrant
Well,
it?
the CAC, it put it in their recommendation. I think it worked. The process works,
And I think it's a case-by-case review by the board. And
Absolutely.
if there is a nexus between the work being contemplated and whether or not a IA system is warranted to mitigate the effects of that work, then yes, you ask for it or you demand it. So it's just a case-by-case evaluation. And you take all the information that you got a recommendation from the CAC saying you should put one in, and that's one factor that you take into account. But it's ultimately within the board's discretion. But again, you have to have that nexus. You can't just, as BJ said, you're putting in some plantings that are not fertilizer dependent. That doesn't justify, having the applicant put in an IA system.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
on
Steve-
the one that BJ cited, if my memory serves me correctly, they had difficulty even finding the septic system initially, but then they did find it. They actually brought in somebody to inspect the older system. And remember, in the report, they reported back to us that the system was working, even though it was a conventional system, it was relatively in good shape. So that was something that, even if we don't require a new septic system to be put in, maybe as a backup, Jerry, that we ask that especially when a system is outdated, by that I mean 15, 20 years or older, that it's incumbent upon them to take a look at the so-called conventional system and get a report on the condition of that system. If that system looks like it's in poor shape, that would be the time to have it replaced. If the system looks like it's in good shape, and perhaps not, especially if it doesn't warrant it. I don't know. Does that make any sense to people?
I have a word. Can I speak if I can?
Sure. Howard, yeah.
Okay, I keep getting cut off on my visuals, so I just have to.
Well, we hear you. The most important thing is to hear you.
Okay. This property, actually, this is a fairly good septic system. It's got a large leaching field. And I had mentioned to the owner that it would be something that she would like to look at, because as you know, with our septic system in the center of town, that anything leaching into the water bodies is detrimental, which was covered by both the Professor Gobler and Kevin McAllister and Bob DeLuca. So this area is about 100 feet off Mananta Creek, which we're having a great difficulty with the pollution in there. And the owner said they would look into improving that. So they're looking into it, I think, and they're receptive to our comments. So it's a fairly new system, so I don't know, but it would be best to get down as low as we can with the nitrate levels. And right now, the system they have in there is probably leaching about 12 milligram, 75, I guess, milligrams per liter. And the new IA would give you 12, which is still very high for leaching into the Mananta Creek. But at this time, that's what we're working with until we go into the more modern systems with the, like Leonardo put in PO, which drops it to about 3. So we're going in the right direction, but unless we get these IA systems done, we're not going to get there in a long time. That's all I have to say about that.
Okay. So I guess do we want to decide now? Do we want to have more? The hearing's closed, so we're not going to go back to the public. I mean, what are your thoughts on, does this warrant an IA system?
Yes. Yeah, and they're welcome to apply for grants,
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I don't consider it, and it will take some time. That's the other thing. I mean, we know that there's some delays now. Meg's mentioned that many times. And so it will take some time, but also and it's not that big a job because the system, Meg, you go ahead and explain why it wouldn't be that big a job.
I was just gonna
Only
say,
tanks.
it's a much newer system that she has there. I believe it was installed when they put in the pool house. So the system itself is a lot newer, so you can reuse most of that system. It would just be a matter of switching out the septic tank for a treatment tank,
Mhm.
an IA tank, and then hooking into the existing leaching. So it's feasible.
All right. I mean, I think it's time that we, started addressing these. We're getting all these different types of applications, and, the public sentiment is we just approve everything. And we're in a position where we can put some restrictions on, what we approve. So I think it's time we, start doing that. You're on mute, Jim.
I think what Meg has just cited is important, that we communicate to the homeowner that the existing system they have is in relatively good shape. A lot of it can be converted into the new IA system, so that it would keep the cost down and the disruption to the property to a minimum. So I think somewhere along the line, I would love to see that communicated to the homeowners.
Okay. And then the other issue is, we keep talking about it, but we don't seem to move forward, that the planning board was going to take over the wetlands process. Where are we with that, Stephen?
Yeah, that's on the list. It's I have a meeting with Ian. We're going to go over because what we want to do is it's not just simply moving the authority to the planning board. There's several amendments that we want to do concurrent with that. So we give them something that's better. So we're in the process of doing that. So I imagine in the next couple of months, you'll have that transfer done.
Okay. Anything else on this one? Okay, we'll go to 52 Tut Hill Drive.
the CAC report, again from October 17th. Number one, owners stated that they were approved for the new county IA septic system grant, so that's good news. Number two, automatic pool hose with the indicated vegetation will be replaced in kind. Number three, irrigation system should be added to the plumbing plans indicating hose bibs for irrigation and currently for the garden hose. Number four, recommended automatic/solid pool cover for evaporation. Currently a netting is over the course of the pool that was recommended. And I think that as the way they explained it, as I remembered, Howard, is that the pool itself was not designed for a pool cover, and it made putting a pool cover on there, obviously very difficult. And number five, if plumbing and or major slab work is required, they should submit details and are obligated to provide silt fencing for construction area.
Anything from the planning board?
Yeah, their recommendations and conclusions were the enclosure of the existing covered patio should have no effect to the existing stormwater management on the property and minimal to no effect on the wetlands. The increase in living space would be covered by the proposed IA system. The new IA system is a big improvement to the existing property, and the town board should require its installation by a specific date. They recommend precluding staging or storing of materials or vehicles in the regulated wetlands during construction. And we recommend the town take the applicant at their word that they are going to leave the existing slab intact and limit the design to working within that parameter, namely that, to quote the applicant, no earth will be disturbed to create runoff, and therefore preclude the removing the existing slab without additional town wetlands permits or ZBA approval.
So rather than take them at their word, can we put that into the approval?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Any other thoughts on this one? So this is by free will they're putting in the IA system? So do we need to put that in, that it's going to be done?
We can include it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, anything else on this one? Okay. That's it on the agenda items. We'll go around the table. I'll start. We have scheduled for a week from Friday, November 11th, COVID booster. Amber, I'm not sure if it's going to be at the school or at the Legion.
It's going to be at the school.
Okay, because school's closed that day. Okay, so we're in discussions with Stony Brook Southampton Hospital, and we felt we needed a commitment of 200 people to make it worth everybody's while. And I believe we're past that now. So if anybody out there would like to sign up for the new booster.
I can give you an update on that because we had a pre-planning meeting this morning, and then we're going to be meeting with all of the players, school, Southampton Hospital, tomorrow morning. So we'll have more details fleshed out, but we're going to get 243 boosters. It will be between 9 and 3 p.m. We can't increase the number because of commitments that the staffing for the booster have coming from Stony Brook. So we have the link that's going to go out to those who were pre-registered with the senior center, and they will be able to go up and sign up for their times. If people have either gotten the booster elsewhere or can't get the booster because they just recently came down with COVID and therefore aren't eligible, then we will open it up to a wait list, which is being collected at the senior center as well. And then if we go through that wait list, then we'll put it on the town website starting next week to fill all the 243 spots. And then,
but what's the eligibility if you had COVID recently?
I believe that the current guidance is 2 months. I thought it was 3, but it's now, last I saw was 2 months, but we will confirm that tomorrow at our meeting with medical professionals. So keep an eye on the town website starting next week. If you were not already pre-registered at the senior center, you can either call there this week to get on the list of the waiting list, or else keep an eye on the town website next week. And if there's open spots, you can sign up. And then of course, the day of, if we have a waiting list and
Right.
someone doesn't show, we'll be calling. We want to thank the Shelter Island Foundation. They are going to be funding the food that gets brought in to feed the volunteers and the staff working that day, so that they don't have to leave. They can continue putting shots in arms. So thank you to the Shelter Island Senior Foundation. I know I'm saying
That's
that
great.
wrong, but
I was gonna ask you, who's the Shelter Island Foundation?
Senior Citizen Foundation of Shelter Island, I think is the proper name.
Amber, we'll go around the table. Do you have anything?
No, that's what I was going to talk about.
Okay, great. Okay. BJ? No, Jim?
Oh, yeah, the Capital Planning and Grants Committee met this morning. I distributed the notes already to everybody, at least a draft. We changed the format of the meeting. We did not go through any old business. We strictly stuck with new business. It was aimed specifically at developing our capital plan. We divided the meeting into two. Joe Fenora, our town engineer, took the first part of it. We dedicated the first part of the meeting to marine assets. Joe began by stating that the town literally had approximately 100 plus marine assets located throughout the island. Many of these assets are town landings. They also include bulkhead stocks as well. He stated both he and Brian Sherman make scheduled time approximately every 2 years at a minimum to reassess all our marine assets. They identify them by type, location, length, remaining life expectancy, cost to repair or replace by today's dollars, and forecast what it would cost the town to repair or replace at the end of life expectancy. For instance, a bulkhead to replace now may cost $50,000, but in 25 to 30 years, that price may in fact double. Amber stated that working on a 5-year forecast, basically 2023 through 2027, is a more realistic way to help forecast and manage these anticipated expenditures. Note, obviously, damages occurring during major storms to our marine assets must also be considered. It is also noted that by conducting periodic inspections on all our marine assets, it helps to maintain them and protect the public from an unsafe situation. Amber and Joe remind us that Brian Sherman maintains a maintenance budget for that very reason. It is a separate line item in the budget. Part two of the meeting, Amber dealt with, and basically she was looking at the next 3 to 5 years. Amber stated that there are two major portions of the town's capital planning, which include number one, marine assets, and number two, our buildings and structures. She also felt it was imperative to gather additional information from all department heads concerning capital improvements as they can be forecasted over the next 5-year period. In addition, Amber suggested we create a separate line for all town vehicles in order to better manage their life expectancy and when they are due to be replaced. It's an excellent suggestion and needs to be considered in the town's capital plan moving forward. Note, currently Amber and the town board have budgeted monies for specific needs for the town, such as ADA compliance at the police department and Justice Hall, the new carport and the senior center, Condon Creek bulkhead, the EMS garage expansion, the EMS power lift stretcher system, new update radios for the EMS, upgrading of the 800 megahertz countywide radio system for the Shelter Island Police Department, new truck, the $3,500 truck, the Mack tractor trailer, and the loader. All these vehicles are being paid through either appropriations in our budget and or from equipment reserve funds. Amber stated that the town has allocated approximately $400,000 to cover these costs. She and the capital planning subcommittee will recommend an estimated dollar amount for these costs moving forward to the town board. As Jim stated, there are both the unknowns, damage from major storms, as well as anticipated costs. For instance, the relocation of the Fifth Center, the implementation of the ADA construction, that also must be considered. Proper maintenance of our roads, as well as flood mitigation measures, are also major factors that need to be projected in the future. So that was kind of the thrust of it. I think we got some, good dialogue going this morning, a better understanding of the importance of having a capital plan. There are a tremendous amount of moving pieces because obviously the town has a tremendous amount of assets. All of these assets as elected officials, when we were elected, we need to maintain them. And they need to be evaluated on a consistent basis so that we try to keep the town in the best possible shape. Our roads are a perfect indication of that. Brian has done an excellent job, working through with grants, with CHIPS money, within the operational budget, keep our roads up to snuff. So I think people have seen a major upgrade in our roads in the last 5 to 7 years under both Jay and Brian. And that basically was our report. Okay, thanks.
Jim, I would say two things. One, I think it's great that we're doing the capital planning period to address the needs. But even more important is that, Amber, that we're starting to put money, we're budgeting money each year for it as, preventative maintenance, instead of saying, yeah, well, this needs to be done, where we get the money. So it's good that, number one, obviously that we have the plan in place, and two, that we're going to fund it also.
Yeah, I think Amber's idea of having a 5-year plan is excellent. It's very hard to forecast out 25 to 30 years, but in 5-year increments, we should be able to manage our assets very well. However, we do have to understand that all of these things have life expectancies, and these life expectancies are being projected out, 25 and 30 years, because that's the life expectancy for a bulkhead.
Mm-hmm. Good.
It also
Okay.
gives us an opportunity, if we're doing something, if we have design costs, are there grants available out there? And so instead of Jen Masiano saying, here's a selection of grants that are out there and available, do you want me to pursue anything? She can be saying, okay, here's the town's priorities.
Mm-hmm.
And then go specifically looking for what we need to get
Right.
accomplished.
That could have been, Amber, the best thing that happened this morning is that the way we were doing it, we were kind of doing it backwards. We were taking a look at what grants were available and how we could utilize those grants to help meet some of our needs, as opposed to establishing those needs and looking for grants that address those specific needs. So I think, by having a capital plan in place, we can now give our grants writer a list of things for 2023, 2024, 2025 that we're looking to try to secure monies for.
That's great. Thanks, Jim.
Okay, thank you.
Meg?
I just wanted to say that the Halloween parade was super cute. There were a lot of amazing costumes. And I wanted to thank all of the homeowners who live on Smith Street who get bombarded every year by tons of very excited children for candy and trick-or-treating. You guys did a great job, and I think the kids had a great time. So just thank you for that.
And thank the
always-
fire department too.
Yeah, the fire department and everybody who helped donate candy to the event, every year it's just so much fun, and the kids love being at the fire department. They love seeing the trucks, and just everything about it is always just a great experience. So just thank everybody who was involved in that and making that happen, and look forward to it next year.
Good.
But
Thanks,
that's all I
Meg.
really had.
Okay. Stephen, you have anything else?
No, Mr. Supervisor.
Dottie, you have anything for us? No, we're in good shape. Okay, we'll open it up to the audience. Anybody, questions or comments? I don't see any hands going up. I see one. Pam Demarest?
Hi, everyone. I realized that you were all looking for maybe written comments since the closing of the public hearings on these wetlands applications. I didn't have time to write anything, so I'm just gonna reiterate what I said at the public hearings. The Tuttle application has a code violation. We mentioned about the irrigation. I didn't hear a response to that. Are you going to have them remedy the violation or have them eliminate the irrigation? So that was going to go to the plan. I guess that question was going to go to the building department, but I never got an answer about that. And of course, the town frowns upon issuing new permits for anything if in fact there are code violations on the property. So that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Okay, I'll get into that one.
As far as the Dickerson Drive, I also had concern about the DEC process that went on with that, and they got a permit for that, and I was looking closer at the paperwork, and for some reason, the DEC permit was issued prior to the actual short environmental assessment form signature. The dates are off. The permit itself was signed on June 9th, but the short environmental assessment form was signed on July 25th, which is also the same date that they put in the wetlands application to the town. I also mentioned that there were some errors in information on that environmental assessment form. I don't know what the town board intends to do. And the other thing that is missing that was part of the planning board
Sorry,
memorandum.
Pam, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but again, the hearing's closed and we really can't take in deference to the applicant and their due process, take any new public comment on
But
these.
that's not new. That's not new, Mr. Kiley. I'm just reiterating what I said at the public hearing. I'm looking for responses to that. The only
Okay,
other
yeah.
thing I was going to add is that the planning board said that they do not have the approved site plan from the DEC in the application, and I didn't see it in the paperwork either.
All right, no, those are valid points that, again, as you said, you could put in writing and we'll be able to respond. But so long as it's all just reiteration of what you said previously, yeah, you're right.
Yes.
But we're not supposed to be really.
Follow up to my questions, and I'm just looking for answers to my questions. And I just,
Okay.
I just found the clarity in that difference in those dates there, which is very confusing. I don't see how they
Okay.
get a permit if they didn't,
Right.
file the paperwork.
All right, please follow up with the building department on that.
With the building department, but that's the town board issue with this application, is the DEC application.
We'll look into it. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
Okay.
Julia?
Nothing, Jerry, thanks.
Okay, all right, I'm gonna close the meeting by reading a statement. Over the past few months, we've been hearing that people are losing faith in the town board and that the board has a secret agenda and is doing whatever it wants to do. I have to believe that the majority of these people are more upset with me than with the entire town board. I have been referred to as a dictator and a bully. Ignoring the fact that I'm one voice out of 5 on the town board and don't wield anywhere near the power that is attributed to me, I believe I need to address this. I received 2 mailings this week. Normally, I wouldn't dignify an anonymous letter with a reply, but these letters were sent out island-wide and signed anonymous because we don't want to be publicly vilified by the town supervisor. My first response is that if you believe in something, you should have the fortitude and strength of conviction to identify yourself and let people know where you stand. It is both cowardly and misleading to say you are speaking for a group of people when you don't identify yourself. Anyone who knows me knows my love of Shelter Island. Ronnie and I have been fortunate enough to raise our 4 daughters here, operate a successful business, and be part of the island community. I specifically moved to Shelter Island because I saw the changes happening to Up Island communities and wanted to raise my family in a safe, caring community. The thing that has always impressed me the most about Shelter Island is its diversity. We have wealthy people, not so wealthy people, and everyone in between. We have full-time residents, second homeowners, and seasonal visitors. We have people that work year-round on the island, people who live and work off the island, people who come to Shelter Island to work, and a very large contingent of people who come to work here in the height of the summer season. The beauty has always been that these different segments coexisted and supported the Shelter Island community. I'm not going to address the contents of the letters other than to say they are filled with mistruths. Instead, I'd like to speak to my role as town supervisor. I'm fully aware that a lot of people don't like me, my management style, or my agenda. On the other hand, there are people who applaud the board for finally tackling housing and water issues, taking housing and water issues hands-on. I would say that I came back to this job to try to get some things that accomplished that have been talked about ad nauseum for the past 3 decades, if not longer. Housing and water are precisely 2 of those major issues. I like to think of myself as being someone who can identify an issue, research the best way to address it, and get it done. I don't go looking to create issues. I only look at the issues before us. We are very fortunate to have a town board that feels the same way that I do, that talk is cheap and it's time to get things done. On that note, the town board, contrary to popular belief, has been more open and transparent than any board in the recent past. We discuss everything at public work sessions and don't act on anything until we've heard from the public. And again, each of us, including me, is 1 vote out of 5. Little over a year ago, the town board discussed the fact there was a group of island residents who did not like what we were doing and would try to stall the town board from getting anything done. We acknowledged that we needed to keep moving forward, listen to this group of people, but not let them delay the agenda we were all elected to address. That is exactly what is currently happening. We hear things like we need to hire experts to study our experts. We need concrete proof of a need for housing. We can't do anything until the comprehensive plan is updated, and so on. I'd like to remind everyone that the United States is a representative democracy. This means that our government is elected by citizens. Here, citizens vote for their government officials. These officials represent the citizens' ideas and concerns in government. They choose their representatives through an election process. These representatives meet and make decisions for the entire population. In other words, if you're not happy with me or the present town board, you have the ability to vote us out of office. You do not have the right to try to govern by committee, most of which are specific to a specific cause. In conclusion, to the person or persons who sent the mailing, Shelter Island had always been a world of civilized political battles. This past year, the town board and our committee volunteers received an unprecedented number of verbal attacks and nasty emails. Rumors and so-called facts are being thrown out there pretending to be truths. This is not a result of different politics. These are simply special interest groups protecting their privilege instead of their community. Lies and anonymous letters have never been what Shelter Island is about. We don't do that. We are better than that. And with that, I'll close the meeting.
For that, I would like to say something, Jerry.
Sure.
I wrote something in response to that, and I didn't want to address the letter itself. About the state of the town. There is no doubt that the state of the town, and I'm referring to the town of Shelter Island, is in a better place than the state of our union. In my opinion, the messaging during the election season has reached an all-time low. Election day can't come soon enough because the TV political ads have been brutal on both sides. And it seems that the truth no longer really matters. People can say whatever they please. Freedom of speech with no accountability for what is said. We've gotten to the point that nothing, and I mean nothing, surprises us anymore. Nothing seems to be off limits. The polarization that has taken place in our country represents the greatest threat to our democracy. Why do we continue to remain silent? Generally speaking, most Americans respect good political debate without the need to defame or attack those who they disagree with. Nevertheless, being disrespectful and threatening has become the behavior of choice, especially when it comes to politics. Some of this attitude and behavior has filtered down to the state, the county, and to local government levels. There are people here on the island that choose to divide us. Fortunately, it's not too late to respond. How we respond is important. And the best way to move forward is in the following 4 steps. Number 1, make sure that we all value our vote and know that every vote counts. Number 2, get involved either directly or indirectly and our town board is extremely fortunate to have approximately 100 volunteers that contribute greatly to the direction and the decision-making of our town board. Number 3, be a critical thinker. Questioning, probing, problem solving, forming your opinion is a sign of personal strength. Number 4, be respectful of others and support civility, especially here in Town Hall. It is a privilege to serve as a councilman here on Shelter Island. I am surrounded by some amazing people, both on the town board and throughout the various departments in our town. They are talented people who contribute to our overall success. The current town board, 60% Democrat, 40% Republican, 60% female, 40% male. But we are 100% respectful of one another. We are united and supportive in our town's priorities and enjoy working together as a team. As a former basketball coach, I recognize that talent is important, but that teamwork is critical in achieving success. Our town board enjoys the challenges that face us today. Although Supervisor Siller is the leader of our town board, he welcomes, appreciates, and values the thoughts and the ideas expressed by all town board members. He has been accused of being an autocratic leader by anonymous sources. To the contrary, Supervisor Siller is a combination of being a democratic, transformational, and authoritative leader. In my humble opinion, he possesses the traits of all 3 leadership styles, depending on the issue. Obviously, being both democratic and transformational are both very desirable leadership styles. But authoritative leaders are visionary and apply a philosophy of follow me. Typically, they map the way for their followers. But unlike autocratic leaders, they seek the input from members and generally explain their decisions as opposed to just issuing orders. Jerry has a vision for our town and is determined to get things done, but not without the advice of his department heads and his colleagues on the town board. Finally, our town board is committed to developing a sound comprehensive plan, as well as community housing plan, town mitigation plan, capital plan, and water management plan that provides for our fragile aquifer. This is our mission, and we appreciate and value your constructive feedback. I want to thank you very much for your time, but I do mean each and every one of those words. And we privately, the 5 of us, I've sat with 9 or 10 different people on the town board in my 7 years. If we have any differences of opinion, they are respectfully discussed amongst ourselves. Every one of us has apologized at one time or another for saying something that maybe we did not mean or misdirected. But we're very respectful of one another. We value one another, and I want to go on record as saying, I value a Supervisor Siller, and I get, as he cited in his remarks, that he's often misunderstood by some. But for those of us that work with him on a daily basis, you can never convince me that his heart and his soul is not into the betterment of this town. You may not believe that, but as God is my witness, I believe in Jerry. I believe in Amber, Meg, and BJ. I love the staff that we have, and we're surrounded by some tremendous people that are real assets to this town that want to do the right thing. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jim. Okay, I'm going to make a motion. We go into executive session to discuss contract negotiations. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thanks, everybody.